Hello, YouTube. It's me, John Avenger, once again, and welcome to another sequel of prequel month. This is a 1990 sequel that came out 6 years after the original film. I still think it's a solid sequel. It does not deserve the hate it gets. It didn't deserve to flop. Give me a break. There were way worse sequels that came out like 20 years later. And I say this right now: this is just as fun as the first film. First film is more grounded in like a small town, but this one is in a big city in a giant building with these amazing creative creatures and a lot of tongue-in-cheek humor, and that is the sequel, Gremlins 2: The New Batch. Yeah, this is a really fun movie. This is a great sequel. This is what you think about a sequel that it takes place right after the first one. It wasn't rushed. It took a long time to make it, and I think it was well worth the trip back to the world of the Mogwai and all the gremlins that are around them. And there's a lot of good things about the sequel. First of all, most of the cast comes back from the first film. You have uh, Phoebe Cates, the girl from the first film, who's gorgeous. I miss her in film. You got Zach Galligan, who plays the lead guy, Billy. You have uh, you have these other people. You have the parents. I think Dick York. I mean, not Dick York. Dick Miller. I keep saying Dick York. Dick Sargent. What am I thinking? I'm thinking about Bewitched. I have Bewitched on the brain. He comes back, and there's a lot of new additions to the film. You have John Glover, who's the lead douchebag that works at the building that gets attacked by a gremlin and tries to bite his neck. You have Robert Picardo, who's from Star Trek, I think Voyager or one of those Deep Space Nine. He was in that. And then you have the late great Christopher Lee as a scientist in the beginning of the film. I miss him. He was a great legend. Yes, he was British, but he was also of Italian descent because his last name isn't Lee, because Lee's an Asian name. So, but Christopher Lee, man, I take my hat off. I miss you, sir. You were a legend for a reason. There's a reason. I'm so glad you didn't live to see the new Star Wars because you would have been insulted. Your part in episode 2 and 3 as Count Dooku was more badass than poor Kylo Ren, who was reduced to you know, let's take his mask off and make him a pussy. But hey, this is not about Star Wars. I'm not reviewing any Star Wars this month. Sorry, I got off tangent. This is about Gremlins 2. This is an awesome sequel. Joe Dante comes back to direct the film. He does a great job with it. He treats it more like a comedy than a dark, scary, like Christmas horror comedy, and it works. I mean, you have a lot of creativity in this film. It's an isolated film in a building. The most of the film takes place in the giant building. They stationed in New York, which is great because I love New York. It's my home. I'm always gonna remember, when I first went to Manhattan and saw those giant skyscrapers in the air in the sky, that shoot up all the way to the sky, and the Brooklyn Bridge and the Statue of Liberty, and yeah, the original World Trade Center. And the freaking Chrysler Building and the Empire State Building. Yeah, all New York landmarks are in this movie. Well, you can see most of them, and it's got some interesting premise. Just like in the first one, Gizmo gets wet, and he gets a bunch of balls, fur balls that come out of his body, and more gremlins are made. Some and they have different colors. You have some black and white gremlins, and you have the green gremlins, of course, and then there's scene where there's a bunch of gremlins that go into the laboratory and they start drinking a lot of the formulas that they're making. One turns into a bat, one turns into a spider, one becomes smart and has a voice of Tony Randall, the brain gremlin, who's he sounds like this, I talk like this, oh my god, I talk like this. I swear he talks like that. That's Tony Randall's accent. He does like this pseudo Oxford British accent, but I like Tony Randall. I miss him. But the voice is a comedy. I wish I could do a whole review like this. That's his voice. It's pretty badass. I actually like his voice as Brain Gremlin. At least it's not some sorry Brit from the Force Awakens. Yes, no, it's nothing like that. But anyway, he's a good villain. I like that there's a girl gremlin that has lips, big red lips, and goes after Robert Picardo and falls for him. You have there's a gremlin that's crazy that goes into the one of the in the cooking show. Uh, that this lady opens a pot. It's Kathleen Freeman. She's the aunt of Jerry Lewis. Yeah, she's in it. There's a lot of cameos in the movie. You have a cameo from Hulk Hogan, who's in the theater. He breaks the fourth wall. He's like, "You better get bring back Gremlins too, or I'm gonna my 24-inch pythons are gonna come after you." And he's like, "Sorry, folks, it won't happen again." And that was a cool cameo. Uh, you have a cameo from the old man that was in the Last Action Hero. I think it's Robert Prosky. He's in the film. He plays Grandpa from the Munsters. He's kind of like a nod to that, and he does like this show, like this horror related show, like Svengoolie and Elvira, stuff like that. You know, these horror icons that start a movie. You know, they pretty much introduce a film. I like that. It's breaking the fourth wall. The film has a lot of breaking of the fourth wall jokes, and this was over 20 years before Deadpool, so that's nice. The film has a lot of creativity. It's PG-13, so it's definitely more intense than the first film. It's more violent. The Gremlins do more havoc, and I think they curse a little bit more than the first film. Uh, would I advise kids to see it with their parents? Maybe, but it's not. And there's no CGI in the film. It's practical effects. The Gremlins look great. They still hold up. I don't think they look crappy or chintzy. I think they look great. The creature effects are done by the same people that the first one. Spielberg produced this film. So did Kathleen Kennedy. And yes, I know she produced Star Wars. I know she's a feminist, wink, wink, but this is not a feminist movie. No, there's a lot of women in here. You also have the mom from Home Alone 3 with her red hair. She like is a girl that's slutty and she tries to throw herself at Billy in the film by playing using her foot to rub his crotch. That's probably where the PG-13 came from. That's one of the things. But the film has a sense of humor. It's fun. It's funny. I like the scene where Gizmo sees Rambo First Blood Part Two, and then he uses a match and a rubber band and a little, I think, a pin, and then he shoots it at one of the gremlins and it goes on fire. That's awesome. I love that scene. That's really cool. I remember that when I was a kid. Is Gizmo still voiced by what's his face, Howie Mandel, who does a very cute voice? I love Gizmo. I think he's one of the cutest little creatures in cinema history, right there with R2D2 and BB-8 and and a lot of other things. The Ewoks in Return of the Jedi, a lot of cute creatures and or robots. And I like this film. I really enjoy it. I don't think it's a bad sequel. The critics were too harsh on it. It flopped. It didn't deserve to flop. It came out at the wrong time. There was a lot of juggernauts in 1990. You had Home Alone. You had Die Hard 2. You had a bunch of other stuff, that came out. And it was just a bad timing for this movie. It's not that it was a bad sequel. It's just it was way too long after the first film. And people kind of lost interest after Gremlins 1. But give it a chance. I think if you see this movie again, you will be surprised. I saw it again and I thought this was hilarious. I mean, it starts with a Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny cartoon short opening the film, breaking the fourth wall, talking to the audience like they always do in their cartoons. It's great. It's nostalgic for me. And Hollywood, don't you dare remake Gremlins. You're not going to do better than these first two films. You tried with Ghostbusters. I would say, oh, I mean Fembusters. It didn't work. You did a different version with a bunch of females and it failed. This is better. This was a PG-13 movie, just like Fembusters. It's got a lower budget. It's actually fun. It's creative. It doesn't copy the first movie at all. There's not a single thing stolen from the first film here. It's not. It does its own thing. Like I said with Tron Legacy, it's a sequel that has a purpose to entertain. When the Gremlins are singing New York" at the end, that's hilarious. I think Tony Rondo sounding like this. I'm walking away. New York. That's entertaining. See, I want my sequel to keep me awake. I don't want to be bored to death. I don't want to hear pretentious dialogue. I don't want to see. I don't want to see an edited version of the movie. Winkety wink wink. You know what you're talking about, Warner Brothers. And guess what? Warner Brothers did this movie. Oh my God! Somebody pinch me. They did a sequel in 1990 that's not edited to shit and it got some special features too. Look, I actually heard the commentary for this film by director Joe Dante and producer Michael Fennell, and they're proud of the film. They don't say the movie's garbage like the critics did. I think it's a fun movie. The scene at the end, the way they kill the gremlins, I'm not going to spoil it. Different from the first film. It's not just sunlight. They do something different. and it works, and it's a different kind of film, and it also has, some spots where it's like it gets so crazy. It's like a cartoon, but a PG-13 cartoon that works and it holds up. 26 years later, and this movie is still a lot of fun. I think it's a lot of, it says here they grow again. This movie definitely grew on me. When I saw it as a kid, I liked it, but I like it even more now as an adult. It definitely works. And I wish there was a Gremlins 3 done like in 1996 or the year 2000 with the same cast, but Phoebe Cates retired, and I haven't seen I haven't seen Zach Galligan in a movie in ages. I mean, but other than Gremlins, the other two films that he did were Waxwork 1 and 2. That's what I remember. Or I think it was in the second one. I don't remember if he was in the first one. I think he is. Yeah, but other than those are like the two franchises that he did. I wish he would do more. The guy's very talented. It's very fun to watch. He's not a bore fest like Liam Worthless, and he's not over the top. He plays it straight, and he plays a really likable guy, Billy, who was likable in the first film. Is the first film better? Yes, but I really enjoy Gremlins too. Give it a chance. I guarantee you will find some good in here, and it definitely deserves more praise because I think it gets unfairly judged, and it's not that bad of a sequel. It's a good sequel, a really good one. So anyway, thanks for watching for this review of Gremlins 2. I try to put my all into this review. I'm really tired, but I wanted to give you guys a review of a sequel, and I gave you one. This is a good sequel. It doesn't deserve oh, it's mediocre. It should have came out like in 1985 or 1986. I agree, but the studios, Warner Brothers are a bunch of hacks sometimes. I mean, look what they did this year. They edited BVS, they edited Suicide Squad, and some of their movies don't even get a good DVD or Blu-ray. So screw you, Warner Brothers executives. You don't know what you're doing. Stop with the edits. Stop with screwing your fans over. Stop marketing your movies and lying. This movie, when the trailer came out in 1989 or early 1990, it didn't lie to audiences. It showed everything in the trailer was in the film. They didn't edit it to shit like they did with Suicide Squad, which upsets me because I'm like, nowadays, they'll edit anything to make a quick buck, and that's what they did. But with this movie, this should have been a huge hit. This should have made the money the Suicide Squad made. If this had made like $200 million, it would have gotten two sequels. But hey, Warner Brothers are a bunch of hacks. But anyway, go watch Gremlins 2. The first one's a classic Christmas movie. This is a really good sequel. A great 90s film. I enjoyed it. It's like Die Hard 2 or Predator 2. It's fun. And it's not that long. It's 107 minutes. Not 2 hours and 10 minutes. Wink. Not 2 hours and 30 minutes. It's quick to the point. It's fun. It gives you everything that you want. And while there's some things in the sequel that are not as good as the first one, like the Christmas theme and the whole magic of the film, it still holds up and it's a great sequel. So anyway, I've rambled enough. Thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in the next review. Later.